Last class we have discussed how the Britishers exploited Indians through their administrative policies, especially through their taxation systems and also the legislative policies like Charter Act and all. So we have also discussed how the company's treatment towards a princely state, that also angered these local rulers. So another important area where they interfered was a socio-cultural front, so which led to the rise of many important socio-religious reform movements in the Indian subcontinent. So in this class we will be discussing which all are the socio-religious movements, and also we will be discussing what is actually the factors which led to the rise of this particular movement. Okay. So before understanding the social reform movements in India, we need to understand how the society was structured during the 19th century. Indian subcontinent society was structured in the 19th century. So we will see what are the features of the Indian society, state of Indian society in the 19th century. First one was a rigid caste system. First one was a rigid caste system. So rigid caste system means the society was deeply divided into caste hierarchies will be there. For example, in the top hierarchy, Brahmins will be there. After that, Kshatriyas will be there. After that, Vaishyas will be there. After that, Shudras will be there. So this led to the discrimination against a lower caste, especially the untouchable class was also there. So this was a very important feature of the, or very important bad feature of the Indian society. Another important thing was the status of women. Status of women. So women also, like the untouchables as well as the lower caste, women also face severe oppression. For example, many evil practices were there. For example, like the parda system. The parda system, which means women has to put the veil. So that was there, and also female infanticide was there, and even child marriage was there. Child marriage. And another important evil practice was sati. Sati means the widow will be, after the death of the husband, the widow will be burned. So widow burning practice. So that was sati. So all these things was detrimental to the women. Okay, the status of women was lowered due to all the superstitious beliefs. Okay, and other superstitions were also, but why? Because illiteracy was one of the important features of Indian society. Literacy or education was limited only to the top sections of the society. For example, like the Brahmin, Kshatriya, so that class only education was there. Other than that, if you go to the lower sections of the society, they were illiterate people. And also these religious orthodoxy people, they were not in favor of giving education to these people, especially this Vedic learning and all was prohibited to this lower sections of the society. And also these religious orthodoxies, since they wanted to be the dominant class in the society, they were opposing the change. They opposed all sorts of change. So that was also there. And even other social evils were also prevalent, especially the rituals in the Brahmin class and all. So that was mostly affecting the lower sections of the society. Okay, so this was a state of society. And another important thing which came as part of the British rule in India, that was the economic decline. Okay, so that was also part of the state of the society in India, especially due to the taxation policy, colonial policy. So that led to economic exploitation. In the last class, we discussed how this taxation and all ruined the Indian agriculture, how it ruined the traditional industries, especially the handicraft industries and how it ruined. So all these things we studied in the last class. Okay. So after this, so these were some of the factors that gave rise to the desire to reform. Some new class of the people are coming, so they wanted to reform the society. So that was also one of the major features in the 19th century. So what were the factors that give rise to the reform in the society? Okay. So this modern vision emerged among a class, we call it as a middle class. Okay, so they admired these European values, and in Europe also this reform movements, especially the Renaissance movement as well as Reformation started in this Europe. So they got to know about all these things. So they wanted to implement the same things in India. Some of the important features of the European reform movements was, one was rational thinking. Okay, instead of blindly following any sort of religious text or whatever they are saying, just think rationally. For example, if you think rationally about sati, everybody will be knowing that this is a evil practice. But if you are blindly following the religious text, you can understand that that is not the case. So these kind of thing was it. Another important thing is religious universalism. okay, which means that every religion is having the core ideas of every religion is same only. They share a core universal truth, okay. So that is why, which led to a secular level of thinking. All religions are equal and all the religions are having the same universal truth, okay. So all this kind of thinking emerged in a section of society, we call it as a middle class way. So what is a feature of this middle class? They are little educated, especially this western education. They have this, they were more accustomed to this western education and all, okay. Another important thing is the impact of British rule. Impact of British rule. There were many bad things about British rule, but there are some good things about British rule also. So, unlike this earlier invaders, for example, if you take Mughals, if you take Delhi Sultanate, so they integrated into the Indian society. But Europeans, they didn't integrate to the Indian society. Other than that, what they did is they introduced European science, European rationalism, and even European governance to the Indian society. Even though many worse things are there about this European system, but still there were many good things also. Okay, European science, it was more rational. Even governance was also some sort of, for example, it gave India the political identity. Okay, so that's also one of the feature of this British governance system in India. Okay, so that is one positive thing. Another one is a caste system. Okay, so the caste system was completely discriminative, and also it stifled the social mobility. For example, if you're born in one class, you will be till your death, you will be in that class only. You have to do that particular job only. You are not allowed to go to a upper hierarchy. Okay, so this fostered the divisions in the Indian society, and ultimately this hampered the national unity also. Okay, so all these things led to the rise of reform movements in India. Okay, reform movements in India. Okay, so in reform movements also we can classify it into two different groups. Okay, one is only reform movement, but another one is a exactly different thing. But still, that also promoted some sort of what improvement in the society. Okay, so we can classify it as one is reformist movement, another one is a revivalist movement. Okay, so what this reformist did is like they aim to modernize this religious and social practices. So they wanted to give the ideas of this progressive society, progressive values, and thinking about reason, modernity, even promoting rationalism, even religious universalism. So they wanted to bring in these kind of ideas, humanism and all. They were more open to the Western education, like science, even reforms, all these things. Okay, so we'll be discussing some of the organizations related to that. Okay, and they were completely opposing the social issues. For example, like women, that sati system, this caste system, and they wanted to bring in more secularism. But revivalist movements were not exactly like that. They also wanted to restore some values in the society, but that values were based on the pure and original religious practices. Okay, so they were also against the sati and all, but they said that that is not the pure and original religious practice. So they wanted to bring in the that kind of value. For example, what were taught in the Vedas. Okay, so that they oppose the modern influence, and they said that what is written in the scriptures, what is written in the not just what is practiced in the society, but what is written in the scriptures, that purity, that tradition we should be bringing back. So they were resistant to Westernism, and they promoted the individual indigenous values in the society. Okay, so mostly they were against the secular kind of movement. Secularism means what? Treating all religion as equal. They were not aligned to that particular thing, but they wanted to they were focusing on the religious purification. Religious purification means what? For example, sati is an evil practice within Hinduism. Okay, so let's remove sati and make Hinduism more pure. Okay, reformist movements mean they were focusing on more broader social change, which is affecting all the sections of the society. Okay, all right. So major reforms were seen, especially in this women movements, especially in the women reform movements that was taken. So these were some of the important movements which were taken, steps which were taken to ameliorate women's position in India. Ameliorate means making something better, something which is bad will be, or something which is unsatisfactory will be there. So we have to make it better. That is ameliorate. Okay. One of the major movements in this thing is abolition of sati. One of the major rules is abolition of sati. Okay, so 1829 sati was abolished. We have already discussed what is sati. Sati means the widow will be burnt. After the death of the husbands, the widow will be burnt. Okay. So, in this particular movement, in this particular reform movement, one person who was in the forefront, he was Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Okay, Raja Ram Mohan Roy. So, in 1829, Regulation 17, there was a Bengal Regulation 17 was there. Okay, so through this Regulation 17, and also another act was also there. So, that was Sadi Regulation Act of 1829. So, this was, we have already discussed who was the Governor General during this period. It was Lord William Bentinck. It was Lord William Bentinck. Okay. So, what, due to the efforts of Raja Ram Mohan Roy, due to the effects of Raja Ram Mohan Roy in 1829, Sati was abolished. One regulation, that is Regulation 17, and also an important act is also coming, that is Sati Abolition Act. Okay, Sati Regulation Act in 1829 was also enacted. Okay, another two important acts or regulations which were focusing on preventing the female infanticide are these one. Okay, so these were focusing on preventing female infanticide. Okay, one is the Bengal Regulations of 1795 as well as 1805. Another one, they have enacted an act also. Okay, Act of 1870, Female Infanticide Prevention Act. Okay, so this particular act mandated birth registration and verification. So, which led to ultimately regulating the female infanticide in that particular area. Okay, another major issue in Indian society was regarding widow remarriages. So, once a husband dies, either she has to commit sati, but some areas they don't have to commit sati, but they were not allowed to remarry. Okay, so in that case only they have enacted an act known as Hindu Widows Remarriage Act of 1856. Hindu Widow Remarriage Act of 1856. So, what this act did is it legalized the Widow Remarriage Act. Okay, two important people were in the forefront of this particular initiative. One is Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. One is Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. Many initiatives regarding this women movements were taken during his period only. Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, and another one is D.K. Karve. Okay, another one is D.K. Karve, and also in the south, Veerasalingam Pantulu. Veerasalingam Pantulu. So these were the three people who were behind enactment of this Hindu Widow Remarriages Act of 1856. Okay, 1856. Another important act is controlling the child marriage. So that was a Native Marriage Act. One was all these things are related to that. One is a Native Marriage Act of 1872. Another one is Age of Consent Act. Age of Consent Act of 1891. And in the later period, another one is coming, Sharda Act. Okay, Sharda Act. What Sharda Act did is earlier the marriage age was 18 for boys, and it raised the marriage age to 18 for boys and 14 for girls. Okay, this came in the later period only. 18 for boys and 14 for girls. Okay, so this was a the marriage age was raised to this. Okay, so this led to that abolition of child marriage. Okay, regarding education, especially regarding women's education, also two important organizations are coming. One is Bethune School in 1849. Another one is Indian Women's University in 1960. Okay, so Bethune School and Indian universities they promoted women's education. So this is also something. Or these are some of the important initiatives taken to ameliorate women's position. Okay, women's position in the society. So the major organization which came for advocating this reform was Brahmo Samaj. Okay, so Brahmo Samaj was a major organization which came for advocating the reform movement. Brahmo Samaj, it was in focusing in the Bengal region, and the person who was in the forefront of creation of this Brahmo Samaj was Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Okay, Raja Ram Mohan Roy, he was a very talented person. He was a polyglot. He knew a lot of languages. He wrote in different languages. He was an activist in many areas like women rights, even child rights, even the governance reform. So like that way, he has been in many areas. So that's why he is even known as a father of Indian Renaissance. Father of Indian Renaissance. Okay, so we'll see what were his philosophies and what were his contributions. Okay, in the UPSC syllabus, this is also something which is important related to the personalities that also we have to study. So his philosophy was he advocated monotheism. He advocated monotheism. Monotheism means what? Belief in one God. Okay, belief in one God. He even wrote the book Gift to Monotheists in 1809. Okay, so that is his initiative in this. Other philosophies like he wanted to promote social equality, and obviously like all of the people in this Renaissance, he also advocated for the rational thinking. And he was a polyglot because he know a lot of languages. He even translated the Vedas and Upanishad, and even uh, he proved that Vedas and Upanishads were actually in support of monotheism. Okay, that is also there. So before this Brahma Samaj, he founded another important organization, that is Atmiya Sabha. He founded Atmiya Sabha in 1840. So the purpose of Atmiya Sabha, all his philosophies we can see in Atmiya Sabha. One, he was against idolatry. Idolatry means worshipping one particular idol. This caste rigidity, like no movement in the social hierarchy, that is not allowed. And also this Brahmanical rituals. So he was also against this. So he was a person who was discussing, he was studying regarding other religions also. For example, he wrote the Precepts of Jesus in 1820. Okay, so this was regarding Christianity. So here what he did is like he separated the moral philosophy from the miracles in Christianity. Okay, his ideology was to oppose the orthodox tradition and promoted a synthesis of best in the culture, whether it be Hinduism, whether it be Christianity, whether it be Islam, whatever it be. He advocated on the moral philosophy, not just the miracles, not just the rituals and all, but the moral philosophy of that thing. So he just wanted to synthesis all these things. Another important college in which he took effort was Hindu college. Okay, 1817 he formed the supported the Hindu college, and also he founded another college, that is Vedanta college. Okay, so purpose of this is it blended Indian as well as Western study. There are many good things about Indian, but there are many bad things about Indian also, and there are many good things about Western, but there are many bad things about Western society also. So he blended both this, but took the good things from both these cultures, and he blended and made a curriculum. Okay, and other than that, he in the governance reforms also he was a very good champion. For example, like the freedom of press, even he himself was a person who has launched many journals in that too in multiple languages. Even though his primary area was in Bengal, he know Persian, he know English, he know Sanskrit, like that he knew many languages. He launched journals in multiple languages also, and he also advocated against this zamindar oppression, and also in the economic front regarding taxation. These Britishers were having trade monopolies during that particular time, even though he had a good relation with this Britishers, for example like William Bentinck and all. So he was instrumental in what instrumental in abolition of the sati. So like that way also he had, but still he advocated against the zamindar Britishers of this oppression under. Okay, and also judicial equality between. He advocated that there should be judicial equality between Indians as well as European. We have already discussed that in 1773 Regulating Act. A Supreme Court in Calcutta was established. So there it was mostly for the purpose of Europeans only. So like that way he wanted to bring in this judicial reforms in India also for Indians also. Okay, so in 1814 he established the Atmiya Sabha. So after that in 1828 he founded another important organization known as the Brahma Samaj. Okay, 1828 he founded a very important organization known as the Brahma Samaj. So what is the main purpose of this Brahma Samaj? It was to purify Hinduism and preach monotheism. Okay, purify Hinduism and preach monotheism. So one of the features of Hinduism is it is polytheism. It's a polytheist religion. Polytheist means it worships different what gods, as well as it was promoting the idolatry. Okay, here it is monotheism, believe in one god, and also he wanted to purify Hinduism. For example, like many evils in Hinduism like sati and all, he wanted to completely abolish. So this was the main purpose of launching this Brahma Samaj. Earlier it again had what it again had it was expanded to form different other features. It opposed polytheism, idolatry, meaningless rituals, and also it denied the infallibility of scriptures, especially the Vedas. Denied the infallibility of scriptures, and he encouraged reason and conscience. Okay, instead of directly following what the scriptures have said, we have to focus on the reason as well as conscience. So this is what infallibility of scriptures means. Whatever the scriptures are saying, that is a only thing that is free from error. It's completely trustworthy. Okay, so that was a infallibility of scriptures. He said no, it is not like that. Even they can also be wrong, and sometimes it can also have errors. So it is also not completely trustworthy. We need to update that. Okay. Another important thing is he criticized the caste determination in Indian society. Caste determination, for example, like hierarchy, social hierarchy will be there. So he criticized these things. Okay, it should not be based on the hierarchy which was given by the birth. So that was he was saying. Okay, and also opposition to social evils, especially evils like sati. So he focused on human dignity, and we have to focus on these things. Okay, so this was done in 1820. Brahma Samaj was launched in 1828 with all these ideals. Okay, so after the death of after the death of Raja Ram Mohan Roy, two important other personalities are coming who is related with Brahma Samaj. So they are Debendranath Tagore and Keshav Chandra Sen. Okay, so after the death of Raja Ram Mohan Roy, also Brahma Samaj was there, but still there were some conflicts were there, some rift were also between them. But two important personalities are coming. One is Debendranath Tagore and other one is Keshav Chandra Sen. Okay, so what he was little senior. So Debendranath Tagore, he revitalized the Brahma Samaj, and he already had another organization, that was Tattva Bodhini Sabha. So what he did is like he integrated this Brahma Samaj with the Tattva Bodhini Sabha itself. Again, their ideology was also similar, like what Raja Ram Mohan Roy advocated as well as Debendranath Tagore advocated was also similar. So that's why he integrated it. He was also part of Brahma Samaj. So they also advocated widow remarriage, women's education as well as other social reforms. Another important personality was Keshav Chandra Sen, but still later this Keshav Chandra Sen as well as this Debendranath Tagore, they had some issues. Okay, so after that, what he did is like he formed another organization, that is Brahma Samaj of India. In 1866, he formed another organization known as Brahma Samaj of India. That was actually a split. So at that time, a split happened between Brahma Samaj as well in the Brahma Samaj and uh, Brahma Samaj of India. Okay. Again, another important thing which he did is like he popularized Brahma Samaj beyond Bengal. Okay. Even though Raja Ram Mohan Roy was popular outside Bengal, Brahma Samaj's activities were mostly concentrated in the Bengal region. So Keshav Chandra Sen was able to bring these activities outside Bengal also. Okay. All right. So this is a major organization in which started the reform movement. So other than that, we had other organizations were also there. They were both revivalist movements were also there. Reformist movements were also there. So what is the difference between reformist and revivalist? Reformist means they will be focusing on more broader social change. Broader social change means against all the evils of the particular society, and again they focused on secularism and all. Okay, this revivalist movements means it will be focusing only on religious reforms. Okay, whatever evils are there in this particular religion, so that they wanted to reform. And also this reformist movement, they were focusing on more Western education. Revivalist movement were not like that. Revivalist movements were like they were focusing on more they were focusing on like Vedas, indigenous scriptures. Okay, one of the major revivalist movement was Arya Samaj. Okay, Arya Samaj we have already discussed regarding Brahma Samaj. This is Arya Samaj. The personality associated with Arya Samaj is Dayananda Saraswati. Okay, Dayananda Saraswati. So he had a theme for this particular movement. He had a theme. So this is basically a revivalist movement, especially reviving the Hinduism. So he advocated for back to Vedas. His philosophy was back to Vedas. Okay, so basically he wanted to reform Hinduism, and he said that whatever is written in the Vedas. So this Raja Ram Mohan Roy, he said he declined the infallibility of scriptures. He is supporting the infallibility of scriptures. So that is why he wanted to go back to the Vedas. But however, he wanted to reform Hinduism. That's why he condemned idolatry and this caste rigidity and the superstition. Okay, but still he is saying that in Vedas all these things are not there. This is a pure form of Hinduism. This is what this Dayananda Saraswati was advocating through his philosophy. Okay, another thing is he promoted classless. Obviously, he opposed the caste rigidity. So obviously, he supported a classless society and also women's rights. Even he was also against the sati rituals and all. And he also said that there should be education reforms should be there, but that education reforms should be mostly based on the indigenous system of education, like Sanskrit and all. So that's what he was advocating. Okay, another important thing which he include as part of this Arya Samaj is Shuddhi movement. Okay, Shuddhi movement. So Shuddhi movement means to reconvert the Hindus. Okay, this is to reconvert the Hindus, purification. That is Shuddhi movement. Okay, reconverting the Hindus. Another important organization which was there was Satyashodak Samaj. Okay, Satyashodak Samaj. So this is the important personality was Jyotirao Phule. Jyotirao Phule. Okay, so his action was mainly he was working mostly in the lower caste rights. Okay, lower caste rights, especially regarding the lower caste women education. So basically, he was attacking the Brahminical supremacy as well as a caste domination in that area, especially the that caste hierarchy. He was completely against a caste hierarchy. Okay, so this can be said as the first major movement focusing mainly on the oppressed communities and fighting the caste discrimination. Brahmo Samaj had a broader idea. Even Arya Samaj was a revivalist movement. So this is basically a first major movement to uplift the oppressed communities and they started the fight against the caste discrimination. Okay, so that is regarding this. He supported women's education, attacked the Brahminical supremacy, and major movement against oppressed classes. Okay, another important movement was Ramakrishna mission or Ramakrishna movement. So the personality associated was obviously very popular, Swami Vivekananda. So his philosophy was this is like a blend of both Western as well as Indianized education. Okay, so he wanted to blend spiritualism with social reform. So that was his kind of ideology, and he wanted to spread this Vedanta philosophy. Adi Shankar and all were preaching this Vedanta philosophy. So he wanted to spread the Vedanta philosophy, and he wanted to focus on practical spirituality. Okay, practical spirituality. Spirituality should be practical and it should be service to the human, not service to the God alone, but service to the human. That was the Swami Vivekananda's movement. Okay, Ramakrishna is teacher. Okay, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa was his teacher. Okay, alright. So he blended both spiritualism and social service reform. Okay, that is Madhava Seva. Okay, Manava Seva. It is not just Madhava Seva, it is Manava Seva. That's what this the philosophy of Swami Vivekananda. Okay, alright. Another organization, especially in the southern part, that is self-respect movement. So the area is Tamil Nadu. Okay, Tamil Nadu. So the personality associated with this Periyar, E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar. Periyar E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar. So he was mostly associated in the Tamil Nadu region. Okay, Tamil Nadu region. So he was an advocate of this Dravidian movement. Dravidian movement means South India, North India. It's mostly this Aryan movement, Aryan region. South India it is a Dravidian. So like that way. So he wanted to uplift the lower caste in the southern part of India. So he completely rejected this Brahminical culture. His objective was to reject the Brahminical culture. So whatever he did, he wanted to reject the Brahminical culture domination. Okay, in Hinduism. So promoting social equality and self-respect among the lower caste. That is his philosophy. There should be self-respect among the lower caste. Suya Maryada Vikam. Okay, all right. So he challenged the caste-based oppression and even the role of Brahmin priests. For example, he advocated marriage without Brahmin priests. Without marriage, one of the major what a component is like, there should be a Brahmin priest. Whichever section of the society is getting married, there should be a Brahmin priest should be there. So he advocated for Brahmin that marriages without Brahmin priest, and he also was focusing on the abolition of untouchability. Okay, so that was his thing, promoting social equality and self-respect among the lower caste. Okay, so that is Periyar E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar. Okay, all right. So there are some positives of this movement as well as some negatives of this movement. Okay, positive is liberation of the individual. So these reform movements, they contributed to breaking the social conformity, especially this priests, Brahmins will be there, and other the top hierarchy classes, that class will be there. So they wanted to liberate individual from all this kind of hierarchy. So that was also there. Reviving the cultural pride. Okay, reviving the, especially this revivalist movements and all. What they did is they countered the critique of Indian society as very decadent, and they strengthened the cultural pride and even countering the colonial argument. So like that, and combining both revivalist as well as reformist movement, and also it empowered the middle class. Okay, so this led to the rise of middle class, a little educated class in the society who didn't believe in this caste hierarchies and caste or class hierarchies and all. They believed in education, they believed in Western reforms, all those things. So that was also there. Okay, later this middle class only formed a force against the British or colonial exploitation in India. Okay, another one is promoting the secular outlook of the society. Okay, they focused on modern, scientific, even rational thinking. So like that way, I'm not talking about the revivalist movement, but this is mostly to the I mean like reformist movement. Okay, another one is encouraging modernization within the society. Like new ideologies are coming, Western culture will be coming. So integrating both modern with the traditional Indian values, like Ramakrishna, like what Swami Vivekananda did, what Brahmo Samaj did. So like that way. But some negative aspect were also there for this particular movement. So these are the negative aspect. One is the limited social base. So these reform movements primarily appealed only to the top class of the top class. Top class in sense here it is not a caste, but here it is a class is coming. That is educated urban middle class. So obviously this didn't reach to the lower section, even though they were advocating against a class hierarchy, caste class hierarchies and all. These movements didn't reach the lower sections of the society, especially the peasants will be there, even the urban areas itself, urban poor will be there. So they were not able to penetrate to these sections of the society. And also sectarianism and class divides were also there. Some reform movements unintentionally developed divisions between different religious community. Okay, for example, if Hinduism is getting revived, means there was actually hatred towards other religion. So like that, only few reformist movements like Brahmo Samaj were able to preach the secular thing. Okay, so that was also there. Exclusion of lower caste. Okay, again these was there. For example, like lower caste like Vaishyas, Shudras, untouchables and all, they were mostly excluded. They were not they were alienated from this particular reform movements, and it led to, even we can say that it led to communalism. Okay, religious reform movements contributed to this communalism, and communal consciousness was there. So that was also there. Okay, and also limited integration of diverse cultures. Mostly it was like Hinduism was reformed, Christianity was reformed, Islamism was like Parda system and all was reformed. So like that way only it was going, and it was not it didn't integrate the diverse cultures in our Indian society. Okay, all right. So this is regarding the socio reform movements in India in 19, especially in the 19th century. Okay, so you might have got an idea regarding how this. So what was the state of Indian society? What were the important reform movements? Many reform movements and many revivalist movements were there, but still we have focused only on the major reform movements. Okay, all right. So that's it for today. Thank you.